What should editors look out for as we begin the journey towards 2022? I think 2022 is a very critical beacon for the industry. And I say that because it's an election year. And given the history, our history of elections, we shouldn't expect to have a smooth journey as we cover the elections next year. Our elections are always defined by ethnicity, they are defined by violence, they are defined by, editorial decisions that are skewed to promote one or the other, whether it's an individual or political party, even though the industry isn't honest enough with itself to accept that it does actually play favorites. Then of course there's the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm saying that the concept of editorial independence will be challenged to the limit. Media objectivity will be challenged to the limit. And this whole thing we keep talking about in terms of neutrality will be challenged to the limit. We should expect to see a lot of conflict that will maybe destabilize society to some extent. We should expect to see an increase in attacks on journalists, and therefore editors need to be very careful in terms of what resources they deploy to secure the safety of their journalists, not just against COVID, but also against physical attacks. We're already seeing that happening. There was an incident the other day, was it in Western Kenya, where a journalist, where a journalist was attacked very badly by whoever it was. So I see that happening a lot, and we need to be sure that when we step out of our newsrooms to cover the elections next year, as we are doing already, that we will have learned from our experience so far this year and maybe adjusted our strategies so that we can get a better handle on that agenda. Editors also, I worry about media houses that are already, whose owners have already declared by their actions where their political leanings are. And that for me presents a real danger to the editors in that media house or those media houses, and also to the journalists themselves, particularly those who will be in the field. Because if, for instance, the Nation Media Group managers or owners decide, although it's very difficult for owners at the Nation Media Group to make a decision on who to promote or not, if they were to decide to throw their weight behind candidate A or party A or whatever, then you can imagine if they went to an area where that candidate is not popular, what kind of risk the journalists or editors in that assignment would be taking. So I see that as a real danger that the industry needs to be aware of, and maybe begin to think of how to mitigate that risk. I think editors will, and I think they are thinking about that now. And this concept was introduced in the aftermath of the 2007 general election, when the country went into a downward spiral. And this is something that we've talked a lot about in discussions, in conventions, in workshops, and it's not very a favorite of everybody. But nonetheless, it is there, and we saw a lot of it after the 2007 election. That is a peace journalism, and getting a better handle on conflict-sensitive reporting. We need to sharpen our skills in that area so that even as we are following the code of ethical practice of journalism, we keep in mind that it's not business as usual, where anybody that says whatever they want to say finds those utterances in the media, on TV or radio or digital media, on the newspapers. And that's what for me, defines conflict sensitive report. Understand what triggers conflict during election times and how do we mitigate the risk of that conflict during election times. We may not call it peace journalism, but it's a good thing for society because then it keeps the tempers down. Yeah.